ladies and gentlemen of all ages, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Angry Meat Production. We appreciate you coming in and letting us be a part of your lives week in and week out. We hope to do our best to present you with something that your eardrums delight in. Whether you're looking at us on YouTube or Rumble, or listening to us on Spotify, Google, or Anchor, or any of the other podcast services that we are currently on or trying to get on. We thank you. And if you don't mind, at the end of every episode, stop by, leave us a comment, leave us a like. If it asks for 5 stars, we'll take 5 stars, even if you don't like us. 5 stars are what it's all about. With that being said, we hope you enjoy our attempt to make our advocation our vocation. Ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin. We here at Angry Me Production want to thank our sponsor, Mobile Notary Mindy. She's certified with the National Notary Association. She's also bonded and E&O insured. She offers a wide range of services including wills, powers of attorney, medical documents, healthcare proxies, living wills, certification of trust, assignment of personal property, HIPAA waivers, advanced healthcare directives, and 99 verification. You can find her on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Mobile Notary Mindy. You can also visit her webpage at texasmobilenotarymindy.com. That's TX, mobilenotarymindy.com. Thank you so much, and enjoy the show.
Ankiewicz?
Ankiewicz.
Okay.
Ankiewicz works.
Welcome, Angry Faithful. Today we got Jonathan. Damn it, I just heard it and I just messed it up. Ankiewicz. Ankiewicz. Okay, Jonathan Ankiewicz. And the reason why I had him on the show, we were talking just 15 minutes or so, just getting to know each other. And a halfway decent guy.
Fake it.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, fake until you make it. But you have an app for a dating app that you're in the works with and everything. Let's go along and describe the reason why you made this app, because the app is geared towards you can identify red flags.
Well, it's not so much as red flags. So let me give you a rundown of exactly what the intent of the company that I'm creating is, and then the application that we're building. So I'm building out a company called Start With Me, whose entire aim is to better love relationships for everyone, or in total. The first product is aimed at the section of being single and just getting into relationships, and is it's a hybrid dating application of in-person and online, with the focus of concentrating on the self to raise the level of emotional intelligence and self-awareness standards in the dating world. So in order to enter the dating pool, you're required to go through a psychology-based
Oh, no. Go ahead and repeat that last bit because it lagged out.
I saw that. So the entire intent is for you to go through a psychology-based self-discovery journey to learn about yourself, to understand how you show up in relationships so you have a better understanding before you start in the dating world.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is the first, and I'll let you finish. Basically, you want to help people work on themselves first before they start actual dating process, which is honestly, that's phenomenal. There's so many people that as soon as they get done with a relationship, they're trying to get into something else, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, and they're not reflecting on the things they've done, the things that didn't work, the things that did work. So the entire aim is that you understand where you are. So in the journey currently, in the basic MVP, the minimum viable product, in order to start getting people to start playing with it, you go through emotional intelligence, you understand what it is, and then you go and take a psychology quiz that they use in psychology to rate people's level of emotional intelligence. So you learn where you stand with emotional intelligence, attachment style, personality types, and then your love language. So the reason for attachment styles, that's how you connect with people, and then how you kind of problem solve in relationships. It's not completely tied to it, but it gives you an understanding.
Okay.
Personality types gives you an understanding of how you behave, right? Introverted, extroverted. Do you like being alone? Do you socialize? Where do you get your energy? Feeling set was it sensing versus feeling versus thinking? So do you make your decisions methodically through facts, or do you go with gut feelings? Is kind of where it sums up to. And then you learn a little bit more about your personality types and how you show up. And then your love language is how you feel full. Like, how do you feel completed and supported in a relationship by your partner? And by understanding yourself and how you show up, you then have the ability to, at the very, even with whatever level of communication skills that you have at the time, it gives you the ability to understand yourself and communicate that as much as possible. But it also helps you. The biggest thing I really want to emphasize with it is when you understand yourself and know yourself, you grow a level of confidence in like what's the word? Not validity. You build
Self-awareness.
you bring us, yeah, I guess so. You build a great level of self-awareness and self-confidence and understanding the things and boundaries that you want, right?
Okay.
Then there's also going to be some modules in that journey that just kind of set some standard definitions and meanings so that like you kind of have an expectation of understanding of certain aspects in the dating world. For example, one of the modules, I don't have it in there yet, but I want to make sure it gets in there, is going to be like how to give, withdraw, and reestablish consent, setting boundaries in relationships as well, right? Withdrawing boundaries or reestablishing boundary lines of certain expectations of, but there's a lot that goes into that. So I need to flesh the content out very well before I start opening it up to other people. But
no, that's totally understandable, because you'll still have people that go out and I hate to say is the romantic novel, and that's what they expect a relationship should be. They have like books of and it's fantasy romance, fantasy, heavy on the fantasy part, and that's what they believe the relationship should be. And it's, I mean, they get it from movies, they get it from TV, they get it from books, but in all reality, a basic relationship is two people that can sleep in the same bed, not kill each other, and help out as much as possible with each other.
Yeah, I like to see it that way. I also like to see it as two people who are growing together and sharing with each other with their how do I explain that? Wow, I'm really lost for words right now. Yeah, they're they support each other and grow, and then they understand each other, and then realize the other person is an individual. This is one thing I'm trying to establish in this as well, is to a lot of people tend to lose themselves when they get into relationships. They drop their friends, they disconnect from the rest of the world, and then they rewrite who their lives are while they're with their partner, and then it fails, and then they have to go and re-find all their friends again and reestablish themselves. Yeah, so I want to get it so that's we are welcoming and helping people understand their individualism and finding their sexy is the way I describe it a bit. Right. Yeah. Understanding and valuing their own personal sexy. So they understand who they are, where they are. They have their understanding of their boundaries so that when they get into a relationship, if they want to let those walls and those boundaries bleed into the other person, they can, because once those relationships fail or go back, they have the ability to redefine what those boundaries and walls are again, because they've seen them. They understand who they are and the edge of their lives are in relationships.
Well, yeah, that always comes by that. Like I said, a lot of times people like they get out of a relationship, but they want that companion. My father's this. I hate to say it, it's the world's worst, because my mom passed, and he got into a relationship as fast as possible. And it wasn't because he wanted to be in a relationship. He didn't want to be lonely. And the people that had that idea is like, and he sees that I'm doing well as a single person. He's like, how do you do it? I'm like, because I just realized that I should be making myself happy. And if somebody's with me and they like to do the same thing, not even the same thing I like to do, because I'm adventurous. If a person goes, hey, let's go hike a mountain, I might be huffing and puffing because I take horrible care of my body, but I'll still go just to see if it's fun for me. And if it's not fun for me, I'll tell the person, it's like, hey, this wasn't fun for me. Let's try something else. But if it was fun for me, I found a new experience. I found something new with this person, and this person is with me, and we're sharing it. And that's actually a good part of a relationship too, is finding out new things that you didn't know about, and because a new person came in.
But you realize that sense of self-love and the fact that you fulfill yourself isn't extremely, I wouldn't say extremely, is it extremely rare? I don't know, actually, I'm not a psychologist. I couldn't, but it's definitely rare from what I've come across.
It's okay. It's rare because either it's ego or it's the basis of our DNA. We are pack animals. No matter what, we are pack animals.
We are.
And we feel uncomfortable without having some kind of companionship. If it would be a friend, if it be a lover or a significant other that, every once in a while comes by, you feel fulfilled and everything. It could be a dog. A lot of people have pets now because of the whole 2020 stuff. And yes, we can't say the full stuff about that. I've gotten my freaking videos knocked down because I just said the words. So that's the reason why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But we have to have companionship. And a lot of people, I mean, I hate to say it, and as a joke, you could create a whole different person inside your head and be like, split personality, and you have your imaginary friend and everything, and you'd be perfectly fine.
Yeah. I've laughed my ass off at the conversations I have by myself.
Yeah. I do the same thing. It's sad but funny.
Yeah. Well, so getting into the point of why I created the app is actually, so a couple years ago, 3 years ago now, I went into a divorce that put me into a massive suicidal depression, destroyed my entire world. At the same time that my marriage was failing, I was going through PTSD therapy with the VA. So that on top of things was a little extra stressful. Then I ended up leaving my job and going to a startup during all of this stuff. And the startup ran out of money around the same time my marriage started failing, and it all kind of accumulated down. I lost all my retirement. I lost everything in the divorce. So basically I had nothing after that. And then the only thing I had, or the only reason that perk I had at the time that I saw, was that I had my son.
Mm-hmm.
And my entire world was like, I picked the gun up, put it to my head a couple times. I was almost there. And then I chose not to because of my son. And then as I started climbing myself out of this dark hole that I was in, I started rebuilding who I was. And I was like, you know what? I have literally, my entire world has crumbled. I have no foundation. I can literally be any version of me that I want to be. So as I was regrowing the strength and trying to find, it's actually been 3 years since it all started.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say the last couple months, I've actually concentrated on that factor of being able to be happy alone, like to the point where because I found myself being a bit promiscuous in order to accommodate my desire to be with someone. Okay. So I was looking for just physical outlets and to get the emotional fulfillment, and it's more draining emotionally than I realized, but it was still it was trying to satisfy that need. So it took me some time.
Yeah, it like all my friends, they have a relationship. They're in relationships, and only one other guy doesn't have a relationship, and we're in the same boat where we finally got a good job. We're finally going out and doing stuff, and we're having fun. I mean, even by myself, I'll go to Dallas and just hang out there for a day and a half, rent a hotel, and just have fun. Not try to pick up anyone. Just go to Six Flags. They have an aviation museum down there. And it's awesome to look at. I mean, this is stuff that you don't find in your own area, because a lot of people they have that hometown mentality where they haven't seen the world, and they feel it's like, oh, well, I can't do anything because my wife doesn't want to do it, or my girlfriend doesn't want to do it, or my kid doesn't want to do it. Just, you know, just go. And then you go, hey, I did this and everything. They're like, oh, that was cool. I'll go next time. And then they want to go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just feeling the freedom of yourself when you finally realize you can do anything you want to go, and you're not being, drawn down and everything. That's a single front. Is there times that I wish that someone would go with me? Absolutely.
Yeah, but as you've learned how to do that confidently on your own, as you get into a relationship, there's a level of that you're supposed to maintain.
Yeah.
Right. There's, and I'm pretty sure almost everyone is accustomed to losing that factor, especially in today's society, because of the way we've all been raised by our own parents and the way relationship patterns used to be in the past. Things are changing and society's changing with technology evolving. Everyone's more accustomed to self-help. Everyone's more attentive to wanting to follow their dreams and passions. And if you don't have a relationship that supports that, you're going to start noticing issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had it a couple of times to where if I was talking to somebody and I just didn't feel anything because it just seemed like they were, I don't want to say lower than me, but just they weren't up to my speed. To where they seemed more lazy.
Understandably, yeah. That's one thing I'm having a lot, or I've noticed a lot of problems with when getting into the dating world is I feel like when I start to get to know people, I'm like, what do you do with your life? Where, like, are you living? Like, what do you, like, do you just go home to a bedroom at your parents' house and then go to work and go back? Like, where's your life? Like, what part of life are you living?
Oh yeah.
That's the one thing I have the biggest problems with, because those, like, if that's the way you want to live your life, all the power to you. But I can't have, like, it's not invigorating. It's not interesting to me. Like,
yeah, that's the whole reason. There's the whole reason why I started doing podcasts. It was a hobby. It's a hobby, but and I get to talk to interesting people and everything. But it's also small amount of stuff. I still go out to the range. I've have like a good group of people that go with me and like, hey, can you help me out with this? Because I'll go out there. I'll go out, shoot a couple of rounds off, and then I got bored and I'll leave. But it's just something to do throughout the day, and that's another thing we're looking for is, we can go out and do stuff that interests us, but most of the time I end up talking to the other people that are at the range too, and we'll just have a nice sit down conversation. And we're like, oh yeah, we came here to shoot. I forgot.
Been there. I'm definitely a talker with randoms too.
It is so fun, and this is how bad it is. There was this lady that was the apartment complex that I live is kind of open, so anybody can go in, and it's really small. And this I don't want to say homeless, because I think she might have had a home, but she just goes through because we have a lot of dumpster divers.
Yeah.
And she had like this shopping cart full of backpacks that she's found in the dumpsters and everything. And I was like, hey, don't mind me asking, are you okay? You got some, because this is Texas heat. This is desert heat. It's hot. It's
111 here yesterday.
Where are you at?
I live a couple hours east bay or east of San Francisco. So it's like a open deserty grass area first.
Yeah. Pretty much the same thing. You're close to Death Valley.
It feels like it.
But I was like, hey, do you need some water or something? Because I got some snacks. And she's like, no, I'm just doing my job. Your job? This is it. Yeah, the cops stop me sometimes, but I have to give them this paper that tells them that I'm allowed to go through the dumpsters and everything. And I knew it was a lie, but it's getting better. It was It was so hilarious because I was like, "Go on, ma'am. You have my attention now."
Let's hear the story you've made up.
Yeah. I'm all in now. Go ahead. And she's telling me, it's like, I have to go into the trash and pick up people's stuff that they toss in there, and hopefully they can come back and go to my location and they can find their lost stuff because they accidentally threw it away. I'm like, okay, that she propagated it. It was so hilarious, and I know she believes this is real because she's off a rocker, but
Yeah.
she was she had this tale that she was doing this for the benefit of other people so they can find their lost treasure. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cute. Okay. Well, you need some water or anything? No, I'm fine. And she just walks around. I'm like, okay, you have fun. But it was adorable.
That's hilarious.
It is.
Yeah, those I've stopped and helped. I was living in a town, and I was actually with my kid. He was like 3 at the time. And this guy, like, I saw him crawl out of a bush and start drinking out of a puddle. And I was like, oh geez, what's going on? Like, it was a dirty puddle too. I was
Yeah.
like, oh God. I was like, I got a few minutes. So I went out of the gas station and grabbed a gallon of water, a couple snacks, threw them in a bag, threw $20 in there, went over, dropped it off to the guy, and I was just like, you doing okay, dude? I was like, I can't do anything to like give you a house or housing or anything, but you good? And he's just like, I became homeless. He's like, my kids don't care for me anymore, and I just got left behind or something like that, and like started developing mental health issues, and like he's not schizophrenic, but he was just like not delirious, but he had like this thing where he wasn't like cognitively always there. And then everyone just left him behind, and he just kind of like, well, I had to find some place to sleep, and these bushes were cozy. And I was like, that sucks.
Yeah. And that's another thing that and not to get off on the app, won't come back to it. But it's kind of funny how you can look at a person. I mean, what was it, the time frame that you were down and out with your life?
No, this was probably before all that started.
Okay.
Things were still positive at that time for me.
Well, you ruined the story entirely, so screw you.
Yeah.
But if you look at people that have horrible lives and everything, and they're still going and everything, you can pretty much go off on that and you go, you know what, my life's not that bad. I think I can go a couple more days more.
Yeah.
Now, on the first part of your dating app, you're going through psychological stuff. How is the second part?
So, so the flow of the journey is you're going to go through, you're going to take the quizzes, you'll watch a little video, you'll learn about the subject matter itself. Then you'll go in, take a quick quiz, give you an answer, give you an idea of where you stand in that world, right? Are you emotionally intelligent or not? Here's a rating on low, medium, or poor, low, medium, high. And then like you learn your attachment style, your personality type, love language. And then after you complete that, then you're given access to the dating pool. So the whole intent is for you to just get an idea to look at where you are, and then it turns into a normal dating app, right? But the whole thing is you've done the minimum level of work. So just imagine the conversations in the first date.
Yeah.
Right. First date conversations where you're trying to find common ground, common topic matters to talk about. You've got an entire journey about understanding yourself that you literally had to go through in order to enter this dating pool. So now everyone in that dating pool has a minimum level understanding of themselves, right? Obviously, some people have done a lot more work, some people haven't, but it's a minimum level.
You still have that commonality of you're doing this together, and everybody has that common goal of, hey, we're even if it's the level and everything like that, but you have that commonality of, hey, I wanted to start this journey so I can find somebody else. And we all have that one thing in common. We took the test. We learned more about ourselves. Do you think that people just go for the first part and just like realize they could probably just do this stuff out in the world, but you're still happy with that first part?
I would like to think so. Down the road. So part of this, well, so actually, let me just give you a little bit of a preference. So this self-discovery journey is also going to be part of the other products that we're going to be building as well, that are all going to be built on top of this foundation. So Start With Me, the dating app, is aimed at getting into relationships. So the idea is we're going to set the standard, have a minimum level of expectations that people are going to do before getting in there. And then once they get into a relationship or not, or if they're already in a relationship, they'll go over to Start With Us, which is it's a relationship app that's aimed at people in relationships. You'll go through the same self-discovery journey, but then you're connected to your partner. So you learn how your foundation and their foundation work well together. So like if you're an avoidant attachment and I'm a fearful attachment, right? I'm scared that everything you're going to do is going to lead to you leaving me. Everything that you're scared of is that I just don't care about you or whatnot, right? So it's like, or you're afraid to even face the issue at hand, so you tend to run away from all the problems, right? You're running away causes me to chase, only making the problems in the relationship worse.
Okay.
So by understanding these small factors, right, you get an idea of like, okay, well, they're in avoidance. So when it comes to hard conversations, they will avoid it, right? But maybe they've found a way to mask that or something. I don't know. He'll help solve a level of problems because it's a very basic understanding of yourself and how people show up. And in doing so and learning about yourself and the various ways that you can show up, you tend to actually learn about the ways other people show up too. So you get that minimum foundation of information.
Okay.
Then you grow together. And the idea behind that is like, you'll like, okay, well, now we're in a relationship. I've understood myself. You understand yourself. Now, how do we grow together in order to build that foundation? And then you can carry it on from there.
Now, what populated this to the point to where you thought everybody needed this? Was it the 3 years after you got on this and it's like, hey, I wish I had this?
Well, so the journey actually started when my marriage started failing, right? So when the relationship started failing, I did the first thing most guys typically do. And they go, okay, well, what's the problem? Okay, well, one, we don't connect much anymore. We're not on the same page and working towards the same thing. And there's no sex in our marriage. What do we do to fix this?
Did you have
as a guy, we fix the marriage by fixing the sex. You make the sex more interesting. They'll open up more and they'll share their emotions more. And then now we'll have a deeper connected relationship.
Oh, to God, you didn't do pegging.
No, but I'm not saying it wasn't on the table, but but it wasn't a conversation, the topic at hand. But the thing is, though, is I tried to fix the relationship first by learning about sex and diving deeper, which because I was unaware of relationships and connections and communications and feeling fulfilled, I was aiming at the wrong thing with an understanding of myself and not understanding of other people.
Why do you think the go-to is the sex?
Say it again.
I mean, why do you think the go-to is you're a bad lover? I was always wondering that.
Being a bad lover, like what's the go-to and why?
Yeah, I mean, in guys' mentality, if we are not a valid lover, then the other person is going to just get rid of us.
Well, so one thing that I learned through this journey is building desire and love. They're so love and desire are on two different sides of the spectrum, right? You can't be in a massive state of desiring your partner and feel that comfort of love, because desire requires distance. Right. So you see them in their natural habitat, you see them being hit on by other people, you see them socializing, doing their own thing. That's when the sense of desire starts building, is the distance where you're seeing them being happy and growing passionately. And then love is a big fulfillment. So there's a combination of them too. But when it comes to sexually, it's a sense of making them feel wanted, desired, comforted, and fulfilled all at the same time. So it's this I think when people frame it as bad, it's because they're unaware of taking care of the other person. right? Because you're going in there with the intentions. Can you hold on 1 second? Sorry.
Yeah. We'll pause it.
When it comes to being described as bad, it's a tendency of a lack of attention for the other person, and it's more of a selfishness, right? Because you're both there to accomplish a mission, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of the way to describe it. You both have an aim, but the thing is desire in like that craving and fulfillment is all a learnable skill. Like you can learn how to build desire and build this stuff up. You can become a better lover by learning how to do all of the things that require making them feel fulfilled and loved, right? And there's such a mental aspect to it. And that was one of the biggest things I took away when I started learning and diving into the world of kink and learning more about that stuff. Is there's such a mental capacity to making love that you have to understand it in order to really fulfill it. But it's a learnable skill. Some people naturally understand it into other people, so it's a lot easier, right? Like if you're a giver, you tend to be considered better because you're worried about them and their success and their enjoyment of the situation. But it's like being a good host, right? If you need good conversation, good mental stimulation, good environment, and then physical prowess following through on understanding the world.
Well, here's the thing that I found out. It's like there's this woman on TikTok, Nicole Ortiz, I think it is. Beautiful woman, gorgeous, absolutely drop dead 10 of 10. You know what makes her like super, super attractive? In her videos, you know what she's doing? She's cooking a 5-star meal. And dude, every time I'm like watching it, I had a friend of mine. It's like, oh, damn, she's hot. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to figure out how she's cooking this stuff.
But that's desire right there, right? That's the intense, like you're seeing them execute on a passion.
Yes.
So you're excited because you're fulfilling their connection to their love. Like they're passionate about it.
That is 100% of 100% on that one. That is exactly what it is. Because I find her more attractive just by her, not even, just because of her physical beauty. Yes, she's attractive. She got my attention by that. And then she started cooking. I'm like, do I need to rob a bank?
Like, what do I need to do to get your attention?
Yeah.
No. So that's one of the reasons I'm actually building this is because as I started diving into dating and getting back into the dating world, I realized that like when you meet somebody who's passionate or has a passion, they're following this is one thing I always preach to everyone is follow your passions. Your passions will fulfill everything and you'll find happiness no matter what at some point because it will just show up because you're happy because you're enjoying your passions.
That is absolutely true because you'll get into like a one night stand or just a passion in a night. I mean, end up that you're kicking them out. But when you do something together, like just reading in a coffee shop, I mean, you could be just passionate about reading and drinking coffee or just in that scenario, and you're not talking, you're not having a conversation or anything, but you feel the companionship there.
Mm-hmm.
And some people find that odd. I've had people like I don't care about money. Yeah. And I'll end up buying something for a friend of mine. It's like, hey, you don't have to do this, man. I was like, hey, you wanted it. You're out of luck and everything. Just pay it forward, man. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm thinking ahead. I'm not thinking right now. I'm thinking maybe one of these days that you go down there and you see someone that's out of luck and you got a couple of bucks in your pocket and you're going, hey, buddy, there you go. And that's the right way to think of things. So
yeah, I'm the same way. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, kid.
Go ahead, bud. You can. Okay. And if you hadn't noticed, folks that are listening and everything, I pausing because he's a father and his kid's trying to get his father's attention, which is totally all right. Like I've said, I've had other guests that had to do the same thing. Either their dog walks in and everything. But we were talking for the last couple of minutes about our ADHD and how we get into a situation with, partners and everything. We find something interesting and they want to be part of it. We want them to be part of it too and see if they would like it and everything. Of course, that's guys in general. I mean, it's not just people with ADHD, just guys in general. We get something new and everything. We get excited about it and we're like, I want to share the world with this, but we don't care. But see it.
But look, it's my shiny thing. I like it. Yeah. It's interesting. Just stare at it with me.
Yes. It's absolutely awesome.
Look what I built. So, yeah, and that's one of those things. Connecting. I totally forgot what I said. I know I was rambling on and it sounded smart. Yeah. I forgot it.
It's always the case. It's like we did an AI intro for something for one of the videos and everything, and I was like, all right, let's see if it sounds good. He came out with it and everything. He said it. And as soon as he finished up, it's like, that sounds pretty good. We tried for 4 hours to get the same thing he said, and we didn't get it recorded.
It never happens that way.
It's a one shot, and it didn't work out afterwards. We were so pissed off.
Yeah. Well, so that's actually a good segue. Or actually, I don't know if it's a good segue. Where is my brain? So we were just answering the question about being good in bed, right? So that's actually related to the third product that Start With Me is going to be building. It's called Flavor of Teal. Oh. It's going to be a relationship app for the sexual side of relationships.
Okay.
So that's the aim. So Start With Me is the individual while you're single and getting into a relationship, right? We're setting the boundaries, we're setting the standards, the expectations. We're starting to find a common ground that allows you to deal with your own personal understanding as well as then connecting with your partner. Then there's the relationship apps, Start With Us, where you learn how to be in a relationship with your foundation and their foundation. You learn how to build a secure and strong thing on top of it, whatever you want, a house, 6 kids, 20 partners, whatever your relationship structure is. Foundation is you understand them, they understand you, then you work together. Third is Flavor of Teal, where you guys are learning. It's the sexual side of the relation. It's a relationship app aimed at the sexual side of the relationship, where you learn how you show up, how you feel, how you connect, and then like you learn how your partner is, and then you learn to build and understand each other sexually. Because there's a lot that goes into it in like the psychology level. Like there's a lot of like sexual traumas and problems that people have had growing up or have never been exposed to, or even one thing I had this conversation with somebody about super Christian family. This is the way it is. No, we have our normal sex and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you can still have kinky sex in like a religious based relationship. Oh, yeah. You don't need to include other people or have other people watch. That's just an extreme in one level. I was like, but you can still learn about your partner. You can learn how to fulfill your partner.
So what you can
learn how to fulfill you.
So what you're telling me is just coming out of the shower, opening up your towel and doing the helicopter is not going to get it all done.
Well, it depends on what your partner's into. Okay. If your partner's into that and they're like, hey, helicopter rides, I'm in. Let's sign up. Okay. Right? That might be a great way to start things.
Okay.
But most people in relationships, they actually form these little patterns where I was like, oh, when they're doing that, that's like I used to refer. So I would, instead of doing the helicopter, I would just go left and right, do the whole slapping leg to leg.
Okay.
And I'd call it my mating call. It was funny at first for the first year or two. And then I think she kind of, when the sexual side of the relationship started to die, I think that's when it was just like, well, it's not any fun anymore.
Yeah. That's what I tell with a couple of comedian friends. They try to tell the same joke over and over again, and they keep on thinking it's like, oh, it's still funny, right? I'm like, not when you heard it 15 times.
Yeah. So going back to where we were with things. So I started learning about kink and the sexual side of relationships in order to solve a problem that I thought we had not realizing I wasn't aiming at the right problem. I was aiming at a symptom of the problem.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. So then when I try to apply the sexual fix of making sex better in the relationship, it actually caused things to get more separated and didn't make it better at all.
Yeah. So basically you have a lot of sex toys that you shouldn't have bought because it was getting that way out the door anyways.
Yeah, it was like, well, we're not using these. Why am I doing this? But then I started learning more, and I was like, well, why is this not working? And then I started realizing and learning more about the mental stimulation of sexual stuff. And I was like, okay, well, that's all communication. That's understanding and learning about your partner, the things they're into, and then learning how to build a sense of desire and flirtation. There's this doctor out of Oakland here in California. Her website's called turnon.love. She teaches these like awesome classes, and a lot of them have to do with like sexual connection with your partner. And one of them that I'm gonna take soon, I haven't had a chance to take it yet, but like it's talking, or was it being dominant without being sleazy?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And like that's a perfect topic matter of like connection there, right? Because you want to learn how to excite your partner mentally through words, because the mental stimulation is, women are mentally stimulated oriented, right? They're not physically oriented as much as men are.
Okay.
So if you can tickle that part of their brain, you can turn it on more. But learning how to do that is hard because it's all about communication, verbiage, how you're using it, and then there's delivery and intake of it as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it.
I mean, I do this, and this is just a joke. And there are people out there that like to be asphyxiated. God, word can't say it because of dyslexia. Asphyxiation. There we go.
Okay.
Which is basically a person that likes to be choked or strangled while they're having sex. Now,
yeah.
I have this joke is like, yeah, but when you do that, you have to have a color code, and this is the reason. This is way too much, and this is all right. But it's
this is
it's
the
just
shade of purple I like to get.
Yeah, there we go. You don't want to go blue.
Yeah, like when it starts turning purple, that's when we start releasing.
Yeah, but
that's hilarious.
It is one of those things that it is a kink for some people. And that's to me that's a little bit extreme. It is a little bit extreme for another person because I don't feel comfortable doing that. But if the conversation comes up, it's like, hey, I like this. Well, I kind of don't like doing that, and I would explain it. Just explain it. What the reason why? This is coming both from two people. And what a lot of people don't understand is you both are consenting adults, and you both need to learn each other's limits.
Yes. Well, so that's one of the things that really attracted me to the whole world of kink is when I started diving into it, thinking that I was just looking for like ways to make sex better. I realized the biggest takeaway I had from the kink community, the people who are really into it, there's a level of communication, self-awareness, and aftercare that should exist in all relationships.
Oh yeah.
Just do not. Like there is a level of communication there. The level of self-awareness, the communication, consent. One thing that I really loved about the kink community is the consent-driven communication patterns. Like everything is about like, hey, if I didn't consent to it, it's not on the table.
Yeah.
So then it's learning about how to share it, talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, if it slips in, it slips in. That whole notion.
Well, yeah, that's a different thing.
Yeah. But it is one of those things that I was talking with a buddy of mine's wife, and he was getting uncomfortable with what I was saying. I was like, hey, dude, I'm not trying to, if you want me to stop, I'll stop. But she was like, no, I'm interested in this topic. We're both adults. I'm not going to try to do anything with him, but he needs help because it was all about, I was asking advice about, toys because my now adult daughter was like, she was experimenting in that field. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable talking to my daughter about this, but I will find a female to help you out. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your mom about that. She was all right with it. So
Yeah.
I found friends that are in the female orientation that helped me out with that, because I'm not going to talk to my daughter about that stuff.
Yeah, that's a hard conversation to have.
Yeah. It's almost as it is really hard, because I was like, nope, I'm putting my foot down. But people are like, no, you feel comfortable about talking that to your daughter. No, but I will get her what she needs.
Yeah. Well, so this is actually one of the intriguing things, or one of the thought process behind a lot of this is nobody's been obviously raised by the same parents, so nobody has there's not as much commonality or understanding across all these topics and awareness across all these topics when it comes to relationships. Like, so for example, Start With Me, all of these quizzes that you go through, they're all used in the psychology field to evaluate and measure certain levels of people's personalities under certain theories. But they've been around for 20, 30 years.
Really?
Like, they've been available. All of these things have been available to people at different aspects. But the thing is, like, look at mental health. How many people are going to get mental health?
Yeah,
like,
you're
fixes?
absolutely right.
Right? Like, the fix has been around for a long time. But the thing is, going to seek that knowledge and understanding is not a commonality.
I think where that is for like mental health and everything, and the idea of seeking out help in general. One, it's part of the whole ego trip to where, no, I can take care of it myself. Even though the whole building is on fire, no, I can take care of this. But it's also that step that person needs to make for themselves. Hey, I can't handle this anymore. I need to find a solution and help to do that.
So, in falsemotivation.com, like, so my coffee company, false-motivation.com, it's a bunch of veterans. We created a podcast in order to help create like a value towards the product. Like, so the product is supposed to support all this, but we talk about mental health and we talk about understanding and finding yourself and being used to getting it more comfortable and acceptable. But that was a lot of the orientation behind getting comfortable talking about this stuff, because nobody wants to go and do it themselves, and then everyone thinks they can go do it themselves. But then when you go through and you actually experience these big dips, you don't realize what it is until you've been too deep into it.
Or it's I had this conversation with my family, well, mostly my dad, is we'll have a conversation with somebody and they'll freak out and like, did y'all really do that? It's our normal.
Yeah.
We've grown up with that. We've lived with that. We've dealt with that. We don't see it as a problem only because it's our normal. But to another person, it can't be that normal because it's just out there. I mean, my mother was like bipolar schizophrenia. When bipolar schizophrenia, people are like, how could you talk with that person? Oh, it's perfectly normal to me.
Yeah, it's like, I grew up with it. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But so that's actually one of the reasons why I created Start With Me in the structure that it is because I realized that there's not a common level between everyone. And then we're all trying to go out there and date each other. And the fact that technology has opened up society across the entire world and country, right? Your dating pool is no longer just your 80-mile radius near your house, right? You can go date people across the country while you're trying to find and understand your personalities meshing together and like figuring out who your soulmate is or your partner. But it
is kind of really difficult for that, because I've always had this understanding is like, what if I do find that person and that other person is like across the country, and we both have established careers already. I mean, we're doing well. Do we take that chance? And
that comes down to you figuring out what you want in your life.
Yeah.
What life do you want to live?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's one of the reasons so start with me, start with us, and Flavor of Teal is meant to get people onto a common level understanding and self-awareness. Because the only thing you can control in a relationship is you.
Yeah.
It's the only thing you have control over. You can't force anyone else to do anything else. One thing that really blew my mind was during this relationship thing where I was trying to heal things and try to get things right. I learned the statements from this guru. I listened to him on YouTube. He was talking about resentment being a disappointment you have in other people for not behaving the way you want them to. That's why you resent people.
Okay.
And that understanding it shifted a concept in my brain to see things so much differently, because your disappointment is in them not behaving the way you want them to, even though they're an individual.
Yeah, because you have like certain thoughts of how a person's supposed to act and everything, but their thoughts are something totally different. And it's a mind fuck when you just figure that out.
It is. And it blew my mind. And then when I started getting back into the dating world and I started realizing that people all over the place have different levels of expectations and standards.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can go on a date with one person and be like, ooh, no, we don't do that in relationships. Or you do that and you're like, what? That's perfectly fine in a relationship. And you're like, no, it's not.
Or why is my house on fire?
Yeah, right. You start learning all these different barriers. And so this is what my intent is to get people on the same level. Not in a like, this is the way it needs to be. I hate that mentality. It's hey, here's a common ground. Take it this way or that way. That's your choice. But here's a minimum group understanding.
Yes, you're absolutely right on that one too. Because
but that comes,
it comes just with, the whole thing to where, hey, maybe if I draw back and we just, have a conversation of what the expectation on certain things, like putting certain things like pineapple on pizza. I'm in the factor of it shouldn't be on there. The person should be exercised and get that demon out of their soul. But there's people that like the sweetness on a pineapple, or pineapple's more like sweet bitter. But
it is, especially when it's baked.
Yeah. But that atrocity, is loved by certain people, which camps come to mind. But anyways, But you have to conversation. It's like, okay, well, half pineapple, half this. Then it's simple. But people can't understand that and making that kind of compromise.
Well, that's a big problem. A lot of people have is understanding and accepting other people. The best quote I ever heard. So this actually comes from that lady who did the turn on love. Like her, she had it mounted on the wall when I went into one of the classes. Never yuck anyone's yum.
Yeah.
I love that quote. And because it applies to everything.
I also say, don't kink shame just because you don't like it.
But it's not just about kink shame. It's about interest shit. It's about interest and flavors and like pineapple on pizza. That's a yum for some and a yuck for others. Don't yuck their yum. And you're like, all it is just, hey, let people enjoy themselves and the things they want to enjoy. Other than pedophiles, that's not appropriate. But other than that, the rest of the world, like I don't see any other problems other than like as long as you're not hurting anyone, you're free. Like just enjoy.
I was like, I carry around a fanny pack. I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah,
I do it for certain reasons. It's convenience, and most of the shorts I have can't really hold all the stuff that we have to carry nowadays. I mean, we had to carry. We got to carry our wallets. We got to, and sometimes you could combine that stuff, but you still don't. My shorts fall down because all I have this string holding my pants up.
Yeah,
but a lot of my friends is like, I can't believe you have a fanny pack on. And I had one friend that do the same thing. He's like, I can't believe you have a fanny pack on. And the next week, I look at him. I was like, is that don't say a damn word? And you're absolutely right. And go fuck yourself.
Yep.
Okay. I'm
you realize the value.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that sometimes you gotta try at least once, and if it's not, your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. It was like my dad cursed me for the longest time not carrying a knife on me, not just a regular pocket knife.
Yeah.
I finally started doing it only because all I had to do was take the knife and put it in my left side instead of my right side, because for some reason anything on my right side makes me feel uncomfortable. But if I put
Yeah.
it on the left side, I'm perfectly fine.
Intriguing.
It makes no sense, but it's there.
It's the what?
It's basically there. It's one of those idiosyncrasy. Can't.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know. I can't think of the word though.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things that it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to that person.
Yes. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that other people are living their lives, and just because you have an opinion doesn't mean yours is correct.
Oh yeah. I mean, for the longest time, I would roll down my window and still have the AC on. My dad would tell me, "Hey, you're gonna blow out your AC motor." I'm like, I don't think that's right, Dad. But his thought was a constant with that. And then finally, I was like, Dad, I'm pretty sure that it's XYZ and not YXX. And we reviewed it, and the AC motor does go down in a car, but it does it itself, and it's not because it's overheating or anything like that. It's just it runs constantly, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I had to show him that, and he thought this for he's 68. He's thought this for 50 years.
Well, that's an old mentality. I grew
Yeah.
up being told the same thing, and I'm like, wait, the motor runs the same speed in rotations, whether the window's open or not.
Yeah.
What? I'm like, just the window being open is not going to put more pain on the motor just because it's being ran differently than what you were expecting it to.
Well, it's
unless
also,
you have like a system that boosts up because it gets hotter, then it increases, and like if it puts it into like a more intense mode and increases the rotations per second or something, then maybe you get more wear and tear.
yeah.
But if it's not doing that, I don't see it.
I seriously don't think that there's a vehicle that has that, though. I mean, even the dual AC units, where I was like, oh, you can be hot on this side and cool on this side. It doesn't work. It's just
well, when you get into the mechanisms that use them, they're basically just controlled by different thermometers.
Yeah.
This one says, hey, we're at the right temperature. We're not. So turn it on, turn it off.
Yeah.
Right.
But what got you into motivating speaking? Because you populated this whole thing. I mean, it's like fitness, motivation speaker, and then what shined me up, and I was like, oh, I gotta have this guy on the show. Was the dating app and everything, and it is interesting of the steps that you're trying to make a healthy relationship with people or for people.
Yeah.
What got you into doing motivation speaking too?
I've actually don't do motivational speaking, but I am told I should because I am very passionate and motivated about everything. I just let my personality go and not control it for the most part. So I like to be excited about whatever I'm doing. And probably because I have ADHD, when I dive into something, I'm all in. I'm like, dude, right now, this is the moment. This is what we're doing. We're changing the world through this podcast episode, right? Just by getting the information out there.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has to do with when I got back into the dating world, everyone's like, dude, like I've been told, like, how many times now? I don't even know. It's been so many. Like it's weird because it sounds super conceited to say it. And to me, it's still really hard to just say. But it's like people are like, you're my growth mode, like you're my growth goals. my personal development goals. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean I'm your personal development goals? They're like, you're confident and happy with who you are, and you've clearly done work on yourself, and you understand who you are, and you're confident with who you are. I'm like, wow, when you say it that way, yeah, I'm aware of what I want. I'm aware of who I am, the things I like and don't like, and I know my boundaries, and you can't convince me like opposite of that. Like I understand it. And that's the self-awareness. And that's where like, so start with me and all this stuff kind of came from me wanting to help people in relationships, learning how much I've grown to help relate my own relationships, but then also learning how much I've rebuilt myself to be this version of me. And people are like, dude, you radiate energy when you're in a room and you're just doing your thing. And that goes down to like the desire factor too, right? It's I'm doing my thing because I'm passionate about it and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Someone once told me, it was like, you have some crazy confidence. You just go up to anybody and talk to them. It's like, it took me I'll tell you this right now. I don't have my shit together now or ever, but I just say, fuck it. Let's try this.
But you don't need to get together. You just need to be confident with who you are.
Yeah. Well, no. That's what I
Yeah.
do for myself. I mean, I just like it. It's that if I have like a decision, it's like maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. I literally tell myself inside my head, fuck it, it's not gonna kill you, and just go ahead and do it. There's a whole reason why it's like I started the podcast stuff. I was thinking about it, and then I was like, what else am I doing with my life? Let's see if I can at least. I have the goals. Is like, let's see if I can just have interesting people to talk to, and
Right.
I end up having like wonderful conversations with people. I think only like once that I had an issue with the other person, and it wasn't they just ended up coming onto the show drunk, and the show just ended up horrible. And I was like, hey, I can't do this with you anymore until you get yourself cleaned up. And if you're just drinking now because you think it's a fun day, but if you have a problem, maybe you should. And like 2 or 3 days later, it's like, dude, nobody's told me that. I needed to go get help. I'm like, seriously? How was your help? I'm surprised.
That's, feedback is something people are not accustomed to. And I'm actually surprised because I have no problem telling people like, hey, like maybe you should look at this behavior. It's affecting other people. That's where like, if it's not affecting anyone else and I'll point it out, like if it's affecting them, I'll point it out. But I also have no problem pointing out when people are making problems for other people too. And people don't do that. And I don't understand it. Well, it's a hard thing. So this is also one of those things where I think like in the dating world, like you get all this ghosting, right? You get all this, like, hey, just cut off the conversation, or cold turkey, like just, hey, I will ghost you, right? And the whole point of ghosting is that you're not talking to them ever again.
Yeah. It's more or less chop off the limb and just go on about your business.
Yeah, but I think I think that one, that's super messed up. Because two, if you really think about it,
he's doing it.
So what?
That person probably doesn't know he's doing it.
Well, a lot of people do it and they don't. Well, I think that they do it because they're afraid of the confrontational conversation that comes with it. When to say, hey, I'm not interested in you, the dreaded why is usually the first follow on, right? It's like, wait, what did I do wrong? I'm like enjoying your attention. Why are you not enjoying mine? Right.
Okay.
So it's like, it's the why. So then you have to provide an answer and you're just like, well, I think you're a shitty human being and I don't like being around you. Like some people can't have those conversations, or like your personality is really annoying for me and I'm not enjoying it. Like I'm taking it to an extreme, but the reality is like, if you gave people some feedback and you're like, hey, you're just way too clean. You make me feel like you want to be married tomorrow.
I just had this thought as just the scene is like, you're just going over like the day. You're taking like a questionnaire, and like, yeah, he's doing that. Yeah, no, don't like that. Yeah, I like that. No, and then you hand it to the other person. They do the same thing to you. It's like, oh shit, do I really do that? Because I had a friend of mine. Whenever she's trying to figure something out in her head, she has this twitch in her eye. I mean, legitimately a twitch in her eye.
No, that's true.
And it was hilarious to me, only because she was trying to explain something, and it was like a switch in her head was malfunctioning, and you could see it. And I told her this. I was like, you do realize when you're trying to explain something and you're trying to figure it out, your eye twitches? She's like, no, it doesn't. And I pulled up my phone, put it on the camera, and I put it in her face. And I was like, explain it to me. And I was holding out. She was like looking at, I do have a twitch. Why would you say that to me? I'm like, listen, now you know you have this.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
And if you can't fix it, and whenever I'm laughing a little bit, now you know why. Because I find it hilarious.
Exactly. Like I got I call it my Quasimodo eye. I got Bell's palsy like a year ago. And
Oh, really?
my eye droops now. Yeah. My whole side of my face went numb. It was gnarly.
Oh, so you know, Paul Whitaker, he owns that. Just remember that.
Okay, noted. Yeah. It was interesting. It was definitely an intriguing journey to have, because now my face is droopy. Even now, like I get it to the point where it doesn't even work properly all the way. But
is it just every once in a while it just droops down, but it just goes back, or is it just constant?
Well, now it doesn't perform the way the left side of my face does. Just my right side responds differently. So if like I'm tired or if I have allergies, my eye will close and respond less.
Okay.
It's due to nerve damage. Somewhere around this area, a nerve pops up through the skull and like fills the whole side of your face. And then if that nerve is damaged, then that whole side doesn't respond or receive signals properly, so it doesn't work properly.
I've never heard it explained. So
super. Well, I like to deep dive into things. I'm a nerd, so I like to nerd hard.
You couldn't tell in the background. I'm not a nerd at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all. But no, that was the whole reason why I started doing like the serial killer podcast. It was because I do research. I love doing research, and there are times that I go over stuff and I was like, oh, okay, he did this, and then when I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, that. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that and make a little joke on that when I saw it. I was like, the Anthill Kids. It was a cult, and that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about on that one too. But it was a cult, and one of the women died, and they drilled a hole and did a bukkake that was their resurrection spell.
Oh Jesus!
And I wrote all this stuff that I was just like, it's a different level of concentration when you're reading and you're just copying stuff from an article, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
okay, yeah, okay, you got that.
Yeah, consuming it differently.
Yeah, and it's so weird that you how you consume stuff differently. And speaking on the aspects of cults, though, do you want to bring people together to where they can use this knowledge to where they can benefit themselves and fill that void of well, a lot of people call it tribalism, a lot of people just companionship or tribe, but that like we were talking before we were going on the show, that's in our DNA.
Yeah, no, we're definitely designed to be grouped up and finding our people. That's why I think we have a lot of desires of like finding those groups, and that's probably what a lot of our problem in society is today, is a lack of community. because like growing up where I grew up in a small town, Barrington, New Hampshire, tiny town, right? Tiny state, tiny town. And I lived deep out in the woods, but we had like a community center, and every Sunday everyone would get together and have a giant barbecue. I grew up where you'd leave the house door open on the weekend if you left for the weekend so that your dogs could go in and out of the house.
No,
right?
I totally understand that.
Yeah, and then like I grew up, my neighbors, even today, like if I go home and visit my parents' house, my neighbors would just walk in the door, go grab a beer from the fridge, and like, hey, is mom and dad home? Like, well, I'm we're gonna go play poker or play pool or go do something. But it's just like community, like it's real community, and it's beautiful to see. But I live in California, and I know 2 of my neighbors, and that's it. Like I grew up living in a cul-de-sac, and the family that lived across from the cul-de-sac from me, we didn't actually get to become friends with them until like year 5 of living there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and
their neighbors, the one next to them, we never even got to know. But we live in this like cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I have the same thing. If I know the person, we've been talking for a while, I'll just walk right in. I don't have any problems with it. Now, if a person tells me it's like, hey, I don't feel comfortable you doing that, yeah, I'll knock before I can. I knock. That's all you had to do to tell me. Only once it kind of messed me up because a friend of mine forgot to tell his wife, and I'm still in that mentality and everything. I open the door, she's in her panties, and I'm like, oh hey, I'm gonna knock now. Click.
Yeah, I'm knocking forever.
I speed dial my friend. I was like, dude, I just saw your wife in your underwear. I'm sorry that I did this. I didn't mean to.
You can punch me in the face if it like.
Yeah, or I could beat myself up in the corner so you don't kill me or whatever. At least I know when to stop myself. And he was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell her that you're stopping by, because he's the same way. He knows if he's part of the family, he can walk right in. He doesn't knock, he doesn't do anything, and all my family friends do that. We're like, hey, what's up? Some of them like give a good tap, and a couple of them don't know the reason why, especially if I was working nights and they would come by during the day. They knock just to make sure I was somewhat coherent, or loud noises might happen on accident.
Yeah.
But no, I totally understand that. It's just weird how, and I don't want to blame like the internet, because it's really I think the best way to say it is it's depending on the countryside and the city side. City side, things are getting taken care of on the on certain things.
Yeah.
The countryside, you might need to call somebody to help you dig a ditch because you can't really do it by yourself, or it's going to take a couple of weeks. But if you get your neighbor, since he needs to dig a ditch too, and go, hey buddy, I'll help you out with yours, you come over and help out with me. All right, cool. And it's that kind of community, and that's where we got away from. If we actually go in and help our neighbors out, or I do that all the time. I do it to the point to where I'm kind of pissed off at myself for doing it, because I keep on getting knocks on the door. I'm like, hey, can you help me out? It's like, yeah, I hate you.
I don't want to.
I don't.
Well, that's the hard part, right? That's a boundary that you're trying to establish.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm the same. Like I'm volunteer. That's actually one thing I've been working on, is not volunteering. Right, because I have a tendency of volunteering too much, and the next thing I know, I'm overcommitted and I get nothing done, especially when it comes to stuff that I need to get done.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because I'm like, I'm a jack of all trades, so yeah, you got a problem with that? I can help you with that. Yeah, I can help you rewire that. Yeah, I can help do the plumbing. Yeah, I could. It's gonna take hours and days, and but it consumes all my time.
The best way to avoid that stuff is like, hey, let me check my schedule and see if I'm doing anything, and let me get back to you in about 5-10 minutes. Just give me 5-10 minutes. And usually they found somebody else out. I'm like,
I've actually come to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I've just come straightforward with it. I'm like, I could, but I really don't want to.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, but all right, here's the funny thing though, is if your friend tells you they don't want to versus they could, right? Like, hey, I could, or if they give you a blow off, but it's the truth is so much more welcoming. And you can't resent people for telling you the truth. Like, I just don't want to do that. So I'm not going to.
oh yeah.
You can't hate them for it because you're like, well, I don't blame you. Okay, there's things I don't want to do, so that's one of them, right? They just
My
established what it was.
thing is because of the people around me that I've grew up with, they always try to guilt you to do it though.
Yeah,
But now I'm like immune to it, and they're like, "Hey, can you help me do this?" Like, no, dude, I don't want to right now. And they're like, "But man, it would really." I was like, most of the like true friends of mine, if I say no, they're like, "No, he's helped me out so much. He's telling me the nicest possible way to go fuck himself."
Yep. Yep. That's communication right there. Back to your question though about creating society and connections, or you want to rephrase your question? I have an answer for it.
Okay.
But I got a little sidetracked.
Creating an app that connects people the way that they should have, like, you know, in a tribe and everything. That the only thing when dealing with like trying to create something like that, you get cults. I'm not saying you're trying to create a cult, but if you call me back, hey, dude, I accidentally did that shit. You called it.
That would be hilarious, dude. I will totally call you if this turned into a cult-like thing. It would be hilarious. But no. So what? It's actually one of the reasons I actually chose the approach that I chose. Right. Okay. So I chose psychology being the foundational understanding because beside culture, it's a fundamental human need, right? Like it ignores culture. It's the foundation below culture because it's the human need of connection and fulfilling, right? Mm-hmm. The emotional support and connection you have with other people is like a psychological need of humans, relevant to the culture they're in. Each culture will have their different ways of fulfilling those needs. Mm-hmm. But at the very base foundation, it doesn't matter what color you are, what gender you are, what sexuality you are. The fundamental needs of understanding yourself are the same no matter where you are.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people, I mean, it's not like we had an incident where the person was depressed and his parents didn't even, you know, pay attention and they were psychologists. We didn't have an incident that happened just recently.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
But it's so it's the individual, right? But so the individual learning and understanding about themselves. But so this is one of the reasons. So this is one of the big secret, or not secret. This is, I guess you could say, one of my secret intents of underneath this entire project is so if this dating app takes off greater than Tinder's got 79 million users across the world right now.
Yeah.
It gives you a foundational understanding of yourself and how to show up in relationships and understanding yourself better. And when you do that and you increase the quality of your communication and understanding of how you're showing up in relationships, I'm aiming at love relationships. But when you learn how to do that in relationships in general, it's going to trickle across all of your relationships.
Yeah.
When you can make your professional and your personal, like your best friend, feel more supported and loved, right? Without having to like do anything extra. You're just doing that because that's how you make people feel better in relationships. You're increasing the quality of your personal and your professional relationships. There'll be a trickle down effect. And then this information will then trickle down to all the users' kids, their generation of who they raise, or the friends that they give insight and instruction to, right? When you understand yourself better, and then you're like, hey, my relationship changed when I understood my boundaries better. I know how to say no to people at work now. I know how to set my time alone. I know how to stand there together with everyone and still be my own individual.
Yeah.
When you learn that stuff, it trickles out.
What's a lot of things people say when they're, you know, I was like, oh, I just started dating. And their first words was like, I haven't done this in a while. I don't know what I'm doing. Or they had like a horrible breakup and you're like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. So and my suggestion was like, someone asked me, I was like, hey, you have kids. How do you be a good parent? I literally, I was like, you know what? I got an idea. And I do have a little bit of good idea fairies, and sometimes it pans out. I went to a store, got a like a blank book, handed in the book, and it's like, put down all the fuck ups that you do as a parent, and then when you have it figured out and everything, hand that to your kid. He's like, but you're not going to give me any kind of advice. That is the advice, because no one knows what the fuck's going on.
No. You have an expectation of what you want, and then
Yeah.
you're trying to figure out how to get it.
Yeah,
But it goes with relationships the same way, though.
Oh yeah, it's everything in life, because you don't know what that person's absolutely thinking. And I've deep dived people that married serial killers, and they convinced people. They convinced them. I was like, they literally found a human skull in their yard, and the other person convinced them that it wasn't. It was probably just a dog's head. And I'm like, how? How is that?
You might want to go back to school and educate a little bit, but
Yeah,
but also at the same time, there's probably a level of not wanting to believe it, right? So you're wanting to believe certain aspects. But so this is like one of the reasons concentrating on yourself is the intent that I aim for, because you don't have control over other people. So if you educate yourself and you become stronger, more confident self, then you can help wade through all the crap that other people try to put you through.
yeah, I can give. It's one of those things. Is I can give you those tools.
Yeah,
I tell everybody is, it's like when I'm training somebody to do something. It doesn't matter what I'm training them to do. You know, it could be the stuff that I'm doing up at work. It could be like cooking. It could be anything. I can teach you how to do this, but put your spin on it, because you're going to do it anyways. I can't control you. I can't tell you. It's like, the only thing I can tell you is this is the reason why you shouldn't do it, and this is the reason why we don't do it. I can give you the reason why, but if you figure out a better solution, bam.
But that's a very similar mentality that or philosophy that I take as I'm building this company is, we're not here to tell you what to do or how to do it. This is another reason why I won't use algorithms to match people. Down the road later, when things are more established and we have more data, we'll run experiments and people can opt into them. But algorithmically matching people, clearly, if you look at the relationship structures nowadays, like, we don't know how to match people. The divorce rates are insane.
No,
like, we don't know how to match humans.
The AI Lord gods are all knowing, and you need to step back from that.
I'm avoiding all of that crap, like, because it's a personalized world when it comes to love and relationships. So bringing in anything that's unauthentically an individual is against what I'm trying to build.
I totally understand that, and it really is. I mean, you can't have somebody go out and basically it's like, hey, I like racing cars. Most of the time, a woman's not going to enjoy racing cars. She's going to be enjoying seeing you accomplish stuff and
Or
getting
be happy.
Yeah. But it's going to be very rare. But there are women that drive vehicles and everything, that
race cars
and everything. But how are you going to find that person? Are you going to find that you're looking at, like, it's like that all those women that keep on going online, like on TikTok and everything, is like, I want a person in finance. I want him to know what he's going to accomplish and everything, fair skin and all the good things in the world. Or you have that really, I'm gonna say Jabba the Hutt, going, oh, he needs to make 500K or I'm not even going to talk to him. It's like, what? No, I don't think. I mean, if you get that, more power to you. I will be impressed because
Well,
that's
this is
1% of a 1%.
yeah. Well, so this is one of the reasons I have this theory that when people spend the time to understand themselves and learn about themselves, they'll put themselves deeper into reality, right?
Yeah.
They'll force themselves into a certain realm because you can only look at yourself so much and go, "Ooh, yeah, I'm sitting on the rainbow," versus sitting on melted crayons, right? It's just you gotta find you. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I don't think I have the words. I'm going to work on explaining that one better.
And well, okay. Let me see if I can figure this out. The best example I can do is like this interview. One woman was I guess she was single and she was like, if he doesn't have a car, if he doesn't have a nice car, a good job, blah blah blah. And the other woman on the other aisle, the boyfriend was making 20K. She is just like, oh, he only makes like 20K. He has the car runs against them point A to point B. We're happy. He gives me I still work and he worked double hard and she sees his struggle just to make her happy, and she's happy just with the bare minimum. And people are like, oh, she's just no, that you're not seeing the love there. They don't people there's people out there can't even understand that kind of concept of
It comes down to values.
So yeah, seeing a person struggle just for the other person. I mean, when a person doesn't see that you're doing that, I honestly I would drop them. I mean,
So
like if you can't see that kind of, you know, accomplishment for you, you're paying attention to yourself and you're not paying it it sucks to say this, but you're paying attention to yourself and you're not paying toward that other person how much they're struggling.
yeah, people will. Yeah, I think it's definitely an opinion of values, right? You're valuing certain aspects of things that either do or don't make sense. They make sense to you, but they may not be a good version. I want to say educated, but I hate referencing to people being dumb for not understanding the world more because they're understanding the world based on the world that they know and they grew up in and they understand, right? Their parents set their values and expectations, whether they were there or not. Their values were set growing up throughout life, right? Those are the behaviors that they've inherited. And as they started learning more about certain aspects, they start understanding and valuing different things. Like one of the best things about my entire divorce was at a peak before everything started collapsing, I was making like 16 to almost 20 grand a month between work and side hustles. And after everything crashed, like I barely make like 4 grand a month. And it was a massive reset of what my values through my day were. And I was like, I'm buying the best thing of everything because I can, and I'm going to do this and do whatever I want. And I had a 3-car garage that couldn't fit a car because it was full of crap. And then like I had all these values and I was like, I had all these things that I valued, but they were all monetary and I didn't catch it all. But then when everything collapsed and I had to reset my life, I went back to being broke and getting the bare minimum. And when I was so depressed, I couldn't work. Like I was interviewing and people are just like, you could see how depressed they were to talk to me because of how depressed I was externally. And that was one thing that I don't think like my ex ever noticed or understood was like, I can barely function as a human being because I'm barely functioning as a human being.
Well, that's another thing that a lot of people's lost through just time itself. And you have to train yourself to do it now is people watch. And it sounds fucking creepy as hell. But when you people watch, you start understanding people's mannerisms and everything like that. It was like I had to do it because I was working in a as a correctional officer.
Yeah, you do a lot of watching.
Yeah, I had to do that. Just everybody's like, "Oh, you're just doing it because you're creepy." No, I had to do it because I had to try to save my own life. Because if a person had a bad day, they either kill themselves or kill me.
Yeah,
and that's just it. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things. It's a lot of people that come to me like, why is it that you notice things off of people? I was like, one, I had to train myself to do it. It's a survival skill now.
Yeah.
And two, you seem more empathetic towards other human beings. And I hate to say it, just human beings, period. But other people, other human beings, you seem more empathetic because you look at them and you're like, I'm noticing that you are having trouble with this, or you're having trouble right now in this day and age. And I'm wondering, would you like to get anything off your chest? That's the nicest way to put it. But in all reality, I probably end up going, hey, you look like fucking shit. What's wrong?
Yeah.
But it's the same concept. It's just one.
Yeah. Just different wording.
Yeah.
That's communication skills right there. That's one thing your podcast is probably, you may not realize you've been doing it for 3 years. You're becoming a better communicator when you're starting to connect with other people.
Oh, no, I have. It was the whole reason why I stopped talking to people in general is because I had a lot of bad things happen in my life. One of the things was I had I was dating this I wasn't dating. I was watching this little girl. She was 18-month old, but her mother had to have a babysitter. And eventually, if you're watching a kid, no matter what, if it's not yours, you're making sure she's all right and everything. Well, after about 2 years, or so, I found out that the mother was doing drugs, and she would leave the baby there for probably a week and a half. I ended up contacting the grandmother, and after
Jesus.
2 months, I told her, I was like, "Hey, I can't do this anymore. You're being really irresponsible. I've already contacted the child's grandmother. We're getting steps to get the baby taken away from you because of your situation right now. Either you change, or it's like you'll never find me, blah blah blah." Well, 2 months later, the boyfriend that she was dating bashed the baby's head in because they were both like fucked up in the head. I went to go to visit her into the hospital, and the doc, I from what I heard is she was sick. So I went up there and I saw all the stuff and everything, and my mind just went in. It's like, oh, she's on life support. This is bad. And my brain went to the protective part, and I almost did something horrible. But I held the child's hand while the doctor pulled off the life support because I was the only person that anybody knew. I mean, even her own family was like, no, he's the one that took care of her. He needs to hold her hand. And they were like, who is this guy? I mean, even the father wasn't even in the baby's life or anything. Basically, I was the adopted father. And yeah, that broke me for about 2 years.
Yeah, I could see that.
And then my friends were like, man, you have a lot to say. You have a lot of stuff to communicate, and you stopped communicating with everybody. You need to go back to where we want you back. This is the best way you can do it. And this is how I do it. It really did help. It took me a while, and I've gained a lot of good friends and a lot of good people that, I hang out with now, or I just, communicating in general. I was like, I was talking to this one guy, and the whole reason why is because of the psychos and sociopaths. His scout leader was the BTK killer. And
BTK, I'm not familiar with that. BTK.
Bondage, torture, kill. He was a serial killer in Kansas City.
Jesus.
He even killed his the BTK killer even killed his dog.
Jesus.
And we were having this conversation, and I don't know why, but after an hour talking to military people, just two people that were in the military, we end up going in conspiracy theories. And we just we'll have a whole conversation for like another 5 hours because like I said, we cut the show for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then in the next 5 hours, we're talking conspiracy theories on stuff that's happened in the world or JFK or something like that.
Yeah.
And what's funny about it is he showed. I was like, hey, dude, what's with the paddles? Because I know Marines do paddles for their companies. Like it's their shadow box.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what's with the paddle? He shows me the paddle. I was like, oh, because the way he was explaining what he did in the Marine Corps was he was 1st Division, or no, 1st Platoon, 1st Division. He was a MARSOC Raider.
Oh, okay.
If I didn't see the patch, because I like the patch because of the skull and stars.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why I remember that patch. I was like,
They're boat crew, right?
no, all technicality, they're Marine Corps special operations.
Okay.
They're
Trying to think. But yeah.
It's like I try to explain to people when how small a group that the military is like they always like a friend of mine is like, once they say they were in the military, you talk for like hours with them. I was like, yeah, because we have a connection. We've all been fucked by the government. And it's hard.
I stopped watching the news because of that. I was in Iraq and we were sitting there watching something on CNN, and I'm like, we literally just did that, and that is wrong what they're announcing. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I'm not watching the news anymore. And I have ever since never, like, I don't like watching the news because it's a narrative of a group of people who want you to see things in a certain perspective. And when you realize that,
try seeing that, and then you want to be part of a press.
Oh God!
And you're like,
well, that's it. Well, that's a realization though, as you realize that when you go and you express. So this is like comes down to communication too, right? Because you're communicating something, and the way I emphasize to people if they're communicating successfully, I always ask them. I say, they're like, well, they don't understand. So my definition, first thing to point out is, are they receiving things the way you want them to? This is like one of the things that I'm pushing really hard to try to make sure I understand as I'm pushing the products out that I'm building is it being received the way I want it to? Because communication is not just you saying things out loud in a smart way that people might understand. It's them receiving it. If they're not receiving the way you're communicating, you're not communicating.
And it is to the point. Well, there's like a couple of factors in communicating with somebody. One factor is, and these are like worst case scenarios. One, if they're intelligent, if you have to dumb the information down, you have to dumb it down. Sometimes you get so used to something, knowing something, and dumbing down is kind of a worst case scenario. But you're so used to knowing these things. It's like, I can tell you exactly what you need to do. And I have this with one of my hosts that I'm trying to train him to do because he's doing good at messing with the algorithm for YouTube videos and everything. But I tell him, it's like, hey, you need to do hashtags and you need to do ads. Like doing on other things. You need to propagate these people and that you're interviewing and everything, and you're getting their stuff looked at by the people that look at you.
Yeah.
And you have to dumb it down. And I'm not trying to, say the person's stupid. I'm just saying he doesn't understand. because he's
let's break down what dumb it down really means, right? It means saying it in a simplified way so that they can comprehend it no matter their intelligence level.
Yeah, but you don't want to say
right?
all those words that you just said.
Yeah. You want to say it, but that's the whole point of communication. That's it. So I started making it a New Year's resolution of mine is every year I'm like, you know what? I'm going to concentrate on my level of communication. My ability to use words and my ability to write words is how effectively am I communicating? And if you want to be an effective communicator, it has nothing to do with chore. It's not 100% to do with the way you communicate because you need to understand how they're receiving things. So if you're trying to go out, that's why like most of the marketing material, Alex Hormozy, to talk about his product pitching and stuff, you need to dumb it down to a 5th grade level because it's the consumption. It's how easy is it to consume and understand? Like, is it taking a lot of thinking to understand? Or does it take a lot of like words so that I understand?
Well, that was the same thing when I was going through when I was learning journalism when I was in high school. They just said that. And it was like, don't write it like you're like super intelligent because that's not your audience. Your audience is effectively reading at a 5th grade level. And the other thing you gotta learn when you're talking to somebody or trying to communicate with somebody is that person of the right mind. Or
what do you mean?
You could be talking to a schizophrenic and they don't even know if you're real or not. I mean, it's a funny thing to think about it, but there's some people out there that they're communicating to you, but they don't know if you're going to harm them or going to help them. Their fight or flight is so messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I joke about it, but I've had to do it like both in a job scenario and both in real life, and that real life stuff's really weird.
Yeah.
But there another factor is like what you've been saying this entire time is your expectation for them to understand what you're saying part of you or and they're just not getting it, and that's the reason why you're getting frustrated.
Yeah. Well, so one thing that actually helped me solidify that thought process was teaching my kid. Right.
Oh, okay.
He's 6. My son right now is 6. So I'll sit down and I'll have these conversations with them. And I'll try to explain, like, well, do you understand why I need you to behave this way at certain times? Do you understand why I need you to see things this way? Because I'm trying to emphasize certain points across. But then I realized that like half the time when I explain things, like last night, I tried to explain, he backtalked to me and said something like after I asked him to do something for like the 27th time, he was like, well, you don't need to be rude about it. And I'm like, I have asked you 27 times to do this one thing. And you finally, until I got in there and shut it off on you, you finally got it done. But it was like, that's rude. I was trying to explain to him like how that's rude and why to understand that it's rude. And I try to avoid that because I said so factor.
It's hard.
It is because all you're doing when you're saying I said so is I don't want to explain to you the reason for you to understand what I'm doing or teaching you. That's all it is. Like,
one, it's hard for you because at the moment you're already pissed off.
Yeah.
You already don't want to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And two, that's basically it. I mean, you're already at the stage to where you give no fucks.
Well, I would actually add in there's a possibility that the reason you're not explaining it is because you don't actually understand why. You're just following that because that's what you were taught.
That is a good factor too.
That's another one that I find some people fall into is that they don't understand what they're doing because this is something they were raised with. This is the way you behave in these situations.
Okay.
But I want to raise my kid to follow the rules, be a good human in society and contribute in a positive way, but push back on certain things because just because someone says it doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's a fact. And even if it is a fact, is it still a fact that that's a hard one to describe because it's like, is this something that you need to be following to a T or is this just something that is the way it is? And I don't want to raise a kid who's super compliant 100% of the way. I want him to push back. I want him to be a little bit of a rule breaker. So it's like, hey, I'm
Well,
not following into your shenanigans because I know you're abusing your situation.
we're supposed to be robots. Don't tell
Exactly.
yourself.
Yeah. I try to
No,
avoid that.
No, I totally understand that because there's times that where he's like, why is it if they go out and like, why is this wrong? Well, why is this wrong? If you question yourself, you might be in the wrong in that situation.
I've actually done that in front of it. I've been like, well, it's actually not a bad thing. I just don't like it. So because that's the only reason I don't like it, you know what? I can't argue with it because you're doing your own thing. And just because it's an opinion I hold, I'm not forcing you to live to my opinion that is an objective or a subjective opinion, right? It's your opinion. This is mine. This is yours. You like it. I don't. I'm not going to force you to like what I like because it's not the way the world works. It's the way it's not supposed to work.
It's totally true. I mean, there's time. I mean, I try to explain this to a person when I was in Fort Worth. I was at a restaurant and this guy came up and he was just trying to have a conversation and I had he's like, well, you carry a gun and you scared of people. I was like, that's not the reason why I carry it. And he's like, well, why do you carry it then if you're not afraid? I can talk to people.
Yeah.
I cannot talk to a baby rattlesnake that crosses my path when I'm doing my jog. And that happened just recently. I mean, it scared the holy crap out of myself. It didn't scare the holy crap out of myself. It scared the crap out of myself. It was one of those things that you don't expect it. You're going out through life thinking everything's all hunky dory, and then Mother Nature comes in. It's like we're gonna see what if you're man enough. I wasn't. I was screaming like a little girl when I was firing, but I'm still firing. That's how it was. If it wasn't for fire, nobody would have heard it.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. It's like I'm a decent communicator. I can talk to people. I'm not scared of people. I'm not scared of going to certain areas, towns, and everything.
Communication is hard, though. I think the whole world revolves around communication. I think one of the biggest problems we have is the fact that people aren't on the same understanding and definition. Like shared definitions tends to be one of the biggest. I hate politics. I cannot follow it. It's so annoying. And the fact that people think politics are acceptable the way they are is like, that's even more depressing. For anyone who has a sense of pride being in politics, I feel bad.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the situation though. I was like, I follow politics. You don't follow politics.
I don't. Yeah.
I know this. Now there's times that, I might slip up and I'll go, hey, did you hear about XYZ? I mean, even in this one, I did hint on a little political stuff that's happening right now, but it was part of the conversation that we were having. Now, am I going to go in and it's like, oh no, now we're going to talk all politics? You would, I would expect you saying that and going, well, I got to go, I got to leave, I got, to buy a watch because apparently I don't have one. And I would totally understand that because I'm talking something that you don't like.
Yeah, but see, the thing is what I've learned is I don't act like I don't run away from it. I'll just be like, hey, I'm not into that conversation. I'm not enjoying that. Or like just like you said earlier, that, hey, I didn't enjoy that, so I'm not going to repeat it.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is I don't just understanding that someone wants to talk about something that you're either not familiar with or uncomfortable with is not a reason to run away. It's just a reason to have a conversation even more, to be honest.
Well, it's
in my opinion.
Judging and you get into that kind of conversation is like, why do you believe this way? And that's a lot of things that's happening with people right now is they can't face to face communicate a lot. I honestly don't like doing this all too much. I'd rather have a person in house, but I'm not super rich, so I can't have you come in, fly you in, and on a private jet or at least coach. I might give you coach.
We'll even just cover the cost for somebody to get there.
Yeah, but having a person like face to face, oh my god, it's so much fun.
Well, do you know what reason why? One of the reasons why. Because 70%, like 70% of your communication, I think if I'm right, the number is 70%. 70% of your communication is through body language.
Yeah,
you and two,
it's actually a little bit more,
feel,
isn't it?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember, to be honest. I should probably look that up.
I'm talking. I'm gonna find this out. I'm curious.
Because your body language. So when I was doing bodyguard work after the Marine Corps, I became a bodyguard. I was doing executive protection, traveling with celebrities and CEOs. I started doing a lot of like body language understanding. Like I started looking into micro expressions and understanding speech patterns and trying to deter threats or concerns when you're interacting with people, because it's your job to keep certain people safe. So if you can determine if someone's a threat before they're a threat, you have the ability to deter the situation before anything happens. So if you learn about how to understand certain things, but I started learning about body language and started addressing that, and it was just like you become very intuitive and empathic when you start understanding how people are feeling based on the way they're behaving, right? Because most people will say one thing but behave another way.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the movement of their eyes, the twitchiness of the body, but some people might just have tics.
But they're noticeable when you start diving into it and start understanding. You're like, okay, well, why are they doing that?
And I hate to say that some of it is in movies that you learn this stuff. Is like if a person's like going like this, they're probably on some kind of drug or anything. But or that person could have like, you know, actual legitimate itch. And that's the reason why, you know, you look at the abrasions on a person's skin, and this is going like super, super high in having communication with someone, especially when you're trying to calm them, get them to calm down to a reasonable level. And having a person that's like, hey, can you calm down? Does not ever work. They get a little bit more frustrated with themselves because then you just told them they're being erratic, and it gets a lot worse. I'm like, oh, I am? Oh, crap. No. But
there's a lot of things that go into that.
Oh, dude, it's even okay. Is saying this according to researchers of Albert Melbourne. I can't even pronounce that name. Body language accounts for 55% of face-to-face communication, while vocal communications account for 38%, and words only account for 7%. So much of the communication is 93%. Is like okay, vocal communication accounts for 38%. 55 is face-to-face communication, so that's body language, and only 7% is words. I don't know how. Sense. No, what doesn't make sense is the verbal communication and the words. Is it just the understanding and intelligence of the words is 7%?
I think it's the usage of the words, because if you think about
okay. Yeah,
if we were to have this conversation over again, I think our entire conversation would be different.
Well, okay. The best example I could possibly do is what's your word for a soda or a pop or Coke? I mean, we have several different things. I could just say, yeah. So yours is soda, and certain parts of the world is Coke. Okay, what kind of Coke do you want?
Or
I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're getting at. You want this item. There's a variety of this item, and I understand that which one of these do you want? But other people is like, hey, Give me a Coke. Okay, what kind? What do you mean what kind? I don't just a regular Coke. Oh, okay. If I didn't put that regular there, what kind of Coke? What if I just said, what kind of Coke do you want? If I said that, it would confuse the person again. It's like, well,
depending on their understanding of the word, right?
What if they said it's like Dr. Pepper? Well, I don't have Dr. Pepper. I have Coke. What if I said, do you want a Coke? Okay, yeah, I'll take a Dr. Pepper. That's happened to me a couple of times.
Well, it's happened to me as well. Like, so cola was one that got me. Like, they'd received cola, and I'm like, oh, cola, Coca-Cola is the only thing that I know of with cola in the word. All right, I'll get you a Coke. So I went and bought him a Coke, brought it back, and they're like, what? I wanted Pepsi. What the fuck are you giving me a Coke for? And I'm like, you said cola. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, cola is Pepsi. And I'm like, ah. So this is actually one of the reasons why I'm doing the whole Start With Me company and doing a dating app too, is because you're establishing a foundational understanding and shared meaning. And once you do that, that's when you start really communicating, when you start sharing the same definitions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because that would just be I've always had like seen these videos to where the person just gets totally confused about they thought XYZ was always XYZ, but when you tell them that it's not, their parents were just messing with their heads. And this even involves sexual natures and everything. It's like, hey, you can't do this. The funniest joke that wasn't a joke was a friend of mine was telling me about I know where I got it from. I think it was Clerks 2. And he's like, she can't do anything. This is ridiculous how explaining something, but she's like, I can't do anything with her because her parents said the pussy troll will defend off my penis and stab my penis, and that's the reason why I can't have sex with her right now. You laugh right now, but there's some people that believe that shit for like the longest time. Like cornflakes is the solution not to masturbate. You laugh, but that's how cornflakes was introduced into the world. It was to stop you from that. Google that shit.
I'll definitely have to Google this one. That makes that's. But that's a lot of exactly what I'm trying to do is get everyone on to get everyone exposed to a shared definition, so that the conversation can start, right? Like I see this company that I'm making and the products that I'm making as the gateway, the start of bringing people together, because it's sharing communications, it's understanding oneself, the most valuable and important thing when showing up in relationships, right? Because the only thing you can work on is you. The most important factor is you. You need to be like, you need the way they describe it, like you need to have a full cup before you could share your cup with everyone else, right?
Yeah, unless it's whiskey.
Then you share whatever you got. But you have to have that minimum standard that everyone's aware, or you have to have that certain level. I want to get people to be confident, happy, and share a definition at the very least, so the conversation can start.
Yeah.
That's all. Like, that's the number one big thing I really want to get going, is like getting the conversation started. I don't want to ever fall into a realm where it's like, this is the way it is. I just want the conversation started so that you can find your state of being in there based off of an equal line that we're all saying like, hey, that's what's the standard. That's what everyone's expecting. At the very minimum, let's share this definition, and then we can rewrite and structure things on our own. But that's between me, you, this person, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's also that factor of I had a crush on you, and I didn't, and I had a crush on you. I was like, two people had a crush on each other, but they didn't communicate that. So they never got together, and they could have had like a beautiful relationship, or they could be like Bonnie and Clyde. You never know.
Yeah. I just had a conversation with somebody from high school the other day, and I messaged them, and I was just like, wow. I was like, you've really grown into a beautiful person. And they messaged me back, and they're like, you have no idea how long I've wanted to hear that from you. Like, I've had a crush on you since high school. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, I remember having a crush on you. But it was just like, well, what would the world have been like if we all followed through on communicating our desires and our thoughts, and communicating better,
Or just be a better painter.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Well, we've gone 2 hours and everything. We're probably we'll have a little bit of communication after this, but
Yeah.
we've gotten the nitty gritty of what your website is, and I honestly I just want to check it out. How if you need a beta tester, I want to beta test this just to.
It's already available for beta testing. So right now you can sign up for the web version at startwithme.co. I didn't get startwithme.com, unfortunately, but startwithme.co. You can go and sign up on the web, and you can do the application through the web platform, but we'll also have it in the App Store and the Google Play Store within the next couple of weeks. It will be available to download.
Those things are expensive. I did not realize how expensive those apps are. Just put it on for
just getting on the App Store.
Yeah.
They're actually fairly cheap. You can basically do them for free practically. I have to check. I'm actually about to do the paperwork today to get them into the App Store to start the admin side of the paperwork. But usually, if I'm correct, you can do it for free. Unless you're hiring somebody else to do it, then it's going to cost money.
Oh, okay. I think that's where I get confused on stuff, because a lot of stuff was like even websites. I was so avert to doing our own website, and then finally someone's like, it costs like $12 a year. Oh, I spent about $400 a couple of years ago, and I had to cut it, and now you're
also that goes from like technology evolving from where it was then to where it is now too, right? Right now you could start a website, start a running company. So the domain itself is anywhere like $11 to $12 or $20 nowadays. It's actually gone up. But the domain itself you got to pay for every year, and then the website is a maintenance fee. And if you do it on a platform that's just like pre-built templates, you can go and build a website with no experience for almost nothing. Like, so I built Start With Me. I came up with the idea probably about a year ago. And I was flushing through all of the ideas of how to apply it, how to get this thing done. Like I came up with the concept that I wanted to take everything I've learned through my own personal journey, getting back into the dating world, and then everything I've learned from that, and then try to help people with things. And then as I started going through and trying to iterate, like, how do you help change society over a period of time? How do you help change the foundation of how people are doing things? And I came up with the concept of implementing the knowledge into products that people are already used to using, and then giving them the incentive to do it, right? Because dating apps, what happens with those? Yeah, the journey I've created requires a little bit of work. There's like a 3 to 4 hour gateway of getting into this dating pool in order to go through your personal discovery journey. And that's like 4 hours is if you're super slow like I am. But if you're fast, I'm pretty sure you could do it in as fast as an hour. It's pretty quick, but it's like but the thing is, there's a little bit of a gateway in order to get there. And I forgot what I was talking about. I don't know why.
You were actually, you're talking about how easy it is to build a website.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So
I was getting, man, it was your sexy eyes. That's what it was.
Thank you. My eye.
The
way it droops. The way it droops. So I fleshed out the concept for about 7 or 8 months, and then about 5 months ago I chose to pull the trigger. So I started building out the whole beta program through a Google Doc, like, hey, let's send a group of people through the journey and see how it affects them as they go. But then somebody introduced me to a new code platform, and I was like, oh shit, I could build the app in like 2 or 3 weeks. So I went and built the app in 2 or 3 weeks. And at the beginning of July like 4th or 5th, we opened it up to beta users. So we're trying to get about 500 beta users into the app, and then we'll have a in-person dating event in San Francisco, because we're going to start the hybrid factor of doing in person is we're going to be doing singles events in local areas where we have large clusters of users, right?
Okay.
So it tends to be like big city areas, right? So we're going to start in San Francisco.
And that's not to collect. Is that what data are you trying to collect from that, or data?
Well, so that's mostly just we live in a hybrid of tech in real life, and trying to build the dating community in an environment that allows you to actually meet people in person. Because one of the big things with dating is like the conversation. I think this is what a lot of problems are coming through, but I'm still trying to flush out all of the problems when it comes to online dating and stuff like that. But a lot of it has to do is like the interacting with somebody isn't serious until you meet them in person.
Yeah.
Or tend to be what I find is like the vibe. Once you get the vibe check and you're like, all right, this is somebody I actually want to spend time around or not, tends to come down on your in-person meetings.
Yeah.
And
then
then
another problem that you have, though, is you have a lot of I'll just call it what people understand right now as bots. People are just trying to get you to go to a different website and everything. How would you actually combat that?
Like people filling up the app with bots. Well, one, the bot now has to go through that personal journey.
Oh yeah, okay.
So the bot has to complete the journey, which isn't really hard right now. There's not a lot of things in there to really roadblock it, but there will be things integrated, and there's items as we go. Because right now, all I'm trying to do is validate the concept and prove that it's valuable and has purpose and real buy-in with an audience. Like there's an actual audience that wants to go out here and use it.
Oh, okay. So you're basically trying to figure out if you have an item that people want to purchase.
Yes. So because the thing is I've talked to probably well over 400 plus people now at this point and had full-blown conversations about the app, and only 2 people out of all of them have that makes it super easy because it's only been 2 people who've been like, I don't know about that. And both of the responses were, I don't know if I'm ready to understand myself like that.
Okay. So it's one of those things that the person doesn't feel comfortable with the dating idea yet.
No, so the kickback is I don't want to learn. I don't want to understand myself because I know I'm problem.
Oh, okay.
It's the people who refuse to reflect on themselves and do the work.
Yeah. Or they're just scared of themselves right there.
Yeah. And their first response were, I don't know if I want to learn about myself like that. Like, I don't want to go and see, like, actually give a validation to how I show up, because then I have to work on it.
You know what's really sad? Sometimes those people are actually the people that have themselves more put together and are actually the kindest people in the world. And it's really sad because they don't feel that they validate their kindness that they're giving out in the world. And when you actually show them in the mirror, and they just realize what a good person they actually are, or they're a raging psychopath,
or they're both.
Oh yeah, you could be both.
They've learned to cover it up in one way.
Yeah, and then you just realized how much you're lying to yourself too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
it's all about understanding yourself, though.
Yeah. And we'll put the website and everything on the description, and we'll have it populate to get you on. And this conversation is going on your YouTube also, so we'll just populate and figure out how to connect everything. But thank you, Jonathan. Damn it, I fucked that up. Jonathan Kent's my favorite character. I love the father figure in Superman, so that's really bad on me.
He's my favorite. I love that show.
Yeah. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and have a good day.
Absolutely.